Welcome to Come to the Edge today, where together we explore the adventures of growing and living in joy. I'm Joan Kappas, your host and producer on the Amazing Women of Power, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International. And my guest today is Janet Tyler Johnson, an expert in uncovering her joy path and in helping others, especially those caught on their corporate merry-go-round, answer their invitation from life to be more and to take that leap that is calling them. Janet was my guest on last week's show, but we were just having such a great time and getting so much out of our conversation together that she agreed to graciously continue our conversation, so we turned it into a two-part show. This is part 2, and if you weren't able to listen to part 1, you can go to my website at www.cometotheedgetoday.com and just look for the button that says download and listen to previously recorded shows, and that will be there under Janet Tyler Johnson. So you can listen to that complete show and then listen to this one as well. So I invite you to do that because it's a great show. Part 2 is fabulous. She's got great information coming, and the leaping exercise is just going to take you to new heights of uncovering your joy path and discovering what you want. And in a very short amount of time, you're going to be able to just see clearly what you want for your life, what your values are, and to do it in a fun way. So relax, listen in, and just experience the wisdom that Janet shares today. Part 2. You talked about you want your day to be joyful. How is your life more joyful now that you have decided to look inward and decided that it wasn't external circumstances, it was you that caused the transformation that brought your life into more joy? How does your day look now? What do you think? What's your beliefs that are different now than they were before?
Oh, boy.
It is.
I think it starts with getting back in touch with what you love. What do you love to eat? What do you love to do? Who do you love to be with? How do you love to spend your time? What things do you love to do that are playful? And that became my list of what I wanted my days to look like.
What was your transformation in allowing yourself to get to that point, to say, God, this is what Janet likes?
Well, again, for me, it came out of the laundry list of things that I didn't like.
Okay.
Really, by looking at all the things that had caused me to be unhappy, and I'm not. Let me put it this way: it's not outward things that people did or said. It was the feelings in me that erupted from those circumstances. So in other words, I didn't like feeling stressed. And I didn't like feeling out of control. Not that I'm a control freak, but I really do like managing my schedule and managing my energy levels so that I'm at my best when I'm helping someone. And I did learn that time management for me was not as important as energy management. I don't book 3 or 4 clients in a day because I would rather be fresh and really spend some serious time with someone and help them out when I'm at my best rather than at the end of the day when I'm more depleted. So I watch those energy levels, although I have found that when you do more things that you love to do, you don't get depleted. There are many times that at the end of the day I'm as energized as I was in the morning, or maybe even more so.
Right, and it's funny how I hear so many people, and I used to be one of them, that would say, I would routinely get the flu and I would get a cold twice a year. Because then I would look back at it when I was working in corporate, it's like because I only had a week vacation. And since I've been out on my own, and not so much out on my own, because there's a lot of people that love their jobs, so I validate that. But since I've been in my own truth, I never get sick.
Right.
Ever. In 14 years, I haven't been sick, and whereas before that, I could count on at least twice a year getting a break from work.
Well, and like they say, getting sick is really just being out of balance. And it's very easy to do when you're not following your own intuition and your own heart as to what you want to do. I do think that it's not easy, though, to sometimes figure all this out on your own. I know for my own self, literally, I have stood in the forest and not seen the trees around me. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't that I just couldn't see the forest for the trees. I was in the forest and I couldn't see the trees. Mm-hmm. And having some outside support, whether it was a good friend, whether it was a coach, whether it was a family member, somebody that would be honest with me or could see things that I couldn't see because we're still human. We have our ego. We're emotionally attached to things. It really has helped me a lot to have somebody who could say, well, do you realize that you're a really good speaker? Now, I do a lot of public speaking, but I have never taken a class in public speaking. And people have said to me, don't, because they're going to goof you up. You kind of have this rhythm and you speak from the heart. And sometimes I feel like it's not even me speaking. It's just the words that need to be said are coming through me to help the people that are listening. So it's getting out of my own way. And that's part of the spiritual path, is to learn how to kind of connect to this higher source and let that source work through you, which becomes much more, you've heard the expression of being in the flow. When you're in the flow, it's all about joy. Mm-hmm. It's about miracles happening all the time. The right people show up to help you. The right resources come by email. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is just amazing. But it really takes trust and belief that can even happen. And when you're kind of mired in the muck, if you will, like I was, it took the desperation to get me to take the jump off the edge. Mm-hmm. But as soon as I landed, I went, oh my gosh, there's a whole different world over here. And
once you decide to do that, your clarity, even though it wasn't clear, it's like you got out of the forest, didn't you?
Yes, to a certain degree. Honestly, I was so stressed out that it took a while for me to de-stress and to slow down my own internal pace a little bit, because I was used to running at full throttle, for a long time. So it did take a little while to decompress and allow myself. And one thing I wish I had done better is more self-care in those early days. Take a nap if I needed it, but because I still kind of felt like, well, I need to do things, and I really didn't need to do as much as I needed to be, and to really go inside and say, what is it that I really want to create here, and even remembering what I love to do. I think that's a process because we have forgotten. So much of this went back to my childhood as to, well, what did I love to do when I was a kid? And right. I would remember things like ice skating, and I'd go, my gosh, I haven't ice skated in 30 years. I used to love that. Why am I not doing that? So, and I didn't do it because time was short. And when you finally have more freedom, you can start to incorporate some of those things back into your life. Even having coffee with a friend in the morning. Those things become available to you, or a phone call in the middle of the day to somebody you just want to connect with.
So with that in mind, when you were on the treadmill before, and now, because you're still just as busy, I would imagine, what are some of the additional self-care things that you do now that have become a priority for you that before was like, it wasn't even on your radar? It's like, I'm too busy to do that. What are some of the things that you do now or be now that you weren't before?
Well, sleep is paramount. I think that most of us don't get enough of it, and it changes everything. So there's practical things like that, and eating better, and taking the time. I have more time, to shop for the right foods, and to be able to prepare my meals and things like that. So those are some practical things that I think have made a difference. I'm probably busier now than I've ever been, but I'm not stressed busy. I'm not pressured busy. And it's all, again, when you're busy doing something that you love, you lose all track of time. So in one sense, time almost slows down, and I'm a person who likes a lot of variety. I would not do well in a factory job. So being in my own business has allowed me to be able to say, well, today I'm going to do this and tomorrow I'm going to do that. And I tend to chunk things out instead of, every Monday I do this and every Tuesday I do that. I kind of mix it all up because that's good for me. And I had to play with that for a while to really figure out what was going to nourish me the most. Some people really thrive on a very set schedule. I thrive on a lot of variety. So it's all about learning about yourself again, remembering how it is that you best are in the world. What is that? Who are you? What is your personality like? How do you want to interact with people? For instance, in this world of technology, I'm doing more work today by email than I am by phone, and it used to be completely the opposite. Email has been more efficient. I always have a written trail of things. It's just been easier for me to manage that way. So I do embrace technology highly. I'm a Mac girl, and I've got all the, Mac computer and the iPad and the iPhone, and they all talk to each other, and it makes things very efficient for me.
Mm-hmm. So you've just learned to ask questions like, what do I want? And what do I remember? And what would I like to develop about, next for me, and set into gear that whole imagination piece that was more multitasking driven than perhaps you are now.
Yes, I don't multitask like I used to because I really do believe that focusing on one thing at a time and giving it your full attention is what gets more things done. When you're trying to work on 2 or 3 things at the same time, you just aren't. And I used to pride myself on being a great multitasker, but
yeah, me too.
Not anymore. But I do think it's a discovery process. I think, like, for instance, when I started the business, I had somebody create a website for me. And about 3 years in, I said, why am I paying this person to host this website that basically is a brochure online? It doesn't change much, it's just there. So I went all to WordPress sites, and then I started blogging, and I created my own websites and found that I loved it. Mm-hmm. So some of this was finding new things about myself and saying that for me reaffirmed that I'm far more creative than I thought I was. When I came out of 10 years in accounting firms, I didn't think I had a creative part of me at all. And then the first thing I did when I left was try to write a book, and I can remember sitting in front of the typewriter going, really? Do I have any kind of imagination? Is there,
See? Look at you go, girl.
Yeah. But it took a while. I had to be patient. It's really like there was a part of my brain I hadn't used for a long time, and I needed to wake it up a little bit. So, I don't have any specific daily practices other than trying to stay connected to source all the time if I can. I know the difference between ego and soul, if I can put it in those terms. And while my ego is there and trying to keep me safe, it's also trying to keep me small. And I've learned that when it rears its ugly little head, I can say, I know you're really trying to protect me right now because I'm resisting making a phone call, or I'm resisting, adding on a new client or whatever. And I can say, but, really you're trying to keep me safe, but that's not serving me. And what is serving me is to say yes to the things I love to do, and I have gotten really good at saying no to the things that don't serve me or anyone else. Because if I say yes to something I probably shouldn't, like a speaking engagement to the wrong group of people, for instance, that are not the type of people that I'm best suited to serve, typically it doesn't go as well, So to stay in that sweet spot of who am I here to serve? Who am I here, to most uniquely serve? That whole transformation came out of the fact that I realized that I have lived 25 years in corporate America to help people get out of those toxic and dysfunctional firms, either by going to work in a better place or maybe a nonprofit or maybe starting their own business, or if they're financially well off, they can stop working altogether if that's what they decide to do.
Everyone, you've been listening to Come to the Edge Today Radio with me, Joan Kappas, on the Amazing Women of Power, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International. And my guest today is Janet Tyler Johnson, author of Finding Financial Fulfillment for a Life Filled with Money and Meaning. She's also a certified financial planner, coach, metaphysician, energy healer, and speaker. And Janet, we could go on and on because you've got so much to say, and I know that you are so willing to share it, and we're going to share your contact information in a few minutes. But for right now, can you just offer everyone listening today what tips or additional insights or ahas that you would like to share everyone about uncovering their path and allowing themselves to be the real you that everyone knows that they can be?
I would. You know, one of the things, it's a tool that I was taught by my publisher when I wrote my first book. When I took a writing workshop from her, and she was talking about doing an outline for the book, and I said, well, my brain doesn't work that way. You know, I kind of have to have the book done, and then I can write the outline. Mm-hmm. And she said, do I have something for you? And it's called mind mapping. Mind mapping, anybody can Google it. There's all kinds of free resources out there on mind mapping. It's gotten very popular, but it was originally developed by a gentleman in England by the name of Tony Buzan, who has a beautiful book out on mind mapping. I think it's called the Mind Map book, if I remember correctly. But he wanted to help college students take better notes and retain more information, so he found a way to really draw instead of take linear notes. And I use this process with everyone that I work with, including traditional financial planning clients, because I don't work with a financial planning client if we don't start with what they want their life to look like, because the money has to fit into that. You know, it's first let's design life again. So we do, and I ask 3 questions, which are not mine. They came from a colleague, but I'd love to share them with you. Mm-hmm. The first one is, if you had more money than you knew what to do with, or if you'd like to put it in numbers, if you had $100 million sitting in your checking account, what would you do differently with your life? And you simply put $100 million in a circle in the middle of a piece of paper, and I turn the paper sideways so that it's landscape and not portrait, because that kind of gets us out of our left brain mentality. So you put $100 million in there, and off of that you just draw branches, like you're drawing branches off of a tree, and you brainstorm. So with $100 million, what would you do with that money? I'd pay off my house, I'd buy a new house, I'd give the kids all college money, I would buy each of the kids a house, I'd have a second house, I'd travel, I'd set up a foundation. $100 million is a nice chunk of money. So what would you do? What would you change? What would you want different? The second question, and I do these in order, the second question is, forget about the money now. What if you found out today that you only had 5 years left to live? And in those 5 years, you are going to be healthy, but at the end of 5 years, you're gone from the planet. Now, what would you change? What would you do differently? What would you do in the 5 years? You know, how would you want to spend your time? So often at this juncture, people that I work with say, I'd quit my job. I'm not spending 5 more years there. If I've only got 5 years left, I'm not going to work there. Mm-hmm. But it can lead to all kinds of things. And then, again, you mind map out your answers, if you will. And then the third question is, a little bit differently, it's what if you found out you only had 24 hours left to live? What would you regret that you had not done or been or become? So it's about regret. And you brainstorm all the regrets. Boy, I wish I had traveled more. I wish I'd spent more time with the kids. I wish I had seen Europe. I wish I had, paid off all my debt. I wish, whatever those regrets are. Okay? Those 3 questions pulled together helps you identify your values, and it helps you identify what's important to you and how you do want your life to look like. And by mind mapping, you're actually using both your right and your left brain. If I just ask you those questions face to face and you answer them to me, you're going to stay in the left side of your brain, because that's the analytical side that tries to solve a problem. and I just gave you a problem. I gave you $100 million. What are you going to do with it? So by drawing your answers, you get more creativity flowing, and you will get better answers.
Fabulous.
This has been an amazing exercise to take people through to help them transform.
That's a great one. Oh my gosh. My husband and I will do that one tonight.
And it's interesting you say that, Joan, because I found it important that husband and wife do them separately and do not talk to each other while they're doing them. And then afterwards come together and talk about it.
Oh, right.
Because you each have your own life. Now, you do have a marriage, and the marriage is an entity, but you still have your own life. My husband and I have done these over and over again, and it's like once you kind of get the juice flowing, the second time you do it, you go a layer deeper. The third time you do it, you go a little deeper. And you can use mind mapping for anything. I use mind mapping to lay out my garden. I use mind mapping whenever I'm trying to solve a problem. Because, again, it's drawing. And with clients, I use colored pencils, crayons. I try to make it fun. It's about inner discovery without feeling like you have this overwhelming work to do. This isn't work. This is play. And it leads you to joy. So if you go through this process, which all three questions, I would say spend about 10 minutes on each one of them. And if you think you're done, just take a deep breath and try to go a little deeper. When you get to the end of that, then kind of summarize it for yourself and say, oh, my gosh, I didn't even realize that that's something I really have always wanted to do, or something that I would regret if I didn't have any time left.
Fabulous.
Not done.
That's such a great tool, and it just really helps you to get into those inward dreams and goals, and not even goals, just inward dreams and desires of your life. Gets to the guts of it, and that's why we feel alive, isn't it? When we can get to that level.
Know what, if I can add one thing, you can do this on the computer, but I have found real power when you use paper to pencil, or pencil to paper, because there's just something about that, like you actually are connecting to who you are by drawing.
So this week, tonight's opportunity is to go find those crayons or markers or pencils, or go to the store and buy them with the intention that this is the start or the continuation of your path, your life. And to just let that be a symbol sitting there, because it's going to be in there either tonight or tomorrow saying, use me.
Yes. Get in touch with who you are, what you want, what you love. The basics are, if money and time were not an issue. Really, really try to dig deep. And don't be afraid to try it, and then tomorrow try it again. And when you have more time on the weekend, spend an hour at it. And I've seen people get really artistic with this. They get done, and it looks like they've created a big tree. I'm more like a stick drawer. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It should be playful. It should be non-judgmental. It should just be let the ideas flow out onto the paper and just see what shows up. And then when you're talking about transforming your life, these are the clues that you need on what you want your life to look like going forward. And then things will start to show up for you as to, well, how am I going to make that happen? The right person to help you will show up, or the right book will fall off the shelf at the bookstore, whatever it may be. It's just do this with the expectation that this is going to be transformative and exhilarating and very joyful.
And it will be.
And it will be.
And it will show up that way, and it really will be, too.
Yes.
Well, Janet, our time is coming to a close here. It's gone by so quickly. What a gift that you have given to all of us today. So I really, really appreciate your time and your sharing and your tools and tips and everything. So it's just been wonderful having you here today.
Well, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, Joan, I don't know how to thank you, because I really am on a mission to help people, and I'm currently giving away a 30-minute free session for anybody who would like to start out with a form a strategy to escape a job they're not happy in, or to transform their life and open a business or whatever.
Tell us how we can contact you and how you would like us to get a hold of you.
Sure. A couple of ways. If you are interested in this 30-minute free consultation, go to my membership site, which is Corporate Hostage No More, like it's one word, .org, O-R-G. And down in the right-hand column, you'll see a place for a 30-minute session. You will click on that. You will just fill in your name and email address. I'll get notified, and we'll set up a time to do that. And for listeners, I would like to expand that. The 30-minute is typical. I would gladly go 45 to 60 minutes. Just tell me that you are a listener of this show, and
Great.
We will accomplish that. It's all complimentary, no strings attached. I'm on a mission to help. And if you have specific questions, I'm glad to take emails. So my email address is jtjohnson, just like my name, Janet Tyler Johnson. It's jtjohnson at Jataj, JATAJ.com. And that is the address of the main website, which is www.jataj.com.
And I will, everyone, have those links on my website as well. So, go to either one and you can reach Janet that way. So, and also I just say, Janet is got expertise. She's got life experience. She's living her talk, and so take advantage of it. And you will love the time that you spend with her, as I know I have. And it will go by really quickly, as our conversations always do, Janet. So again, thank you. And everyone, also, help is in the 21st century. Help and assistance is so there for you and there for all of us. So I also invite you to join me at my interactive website at cometotheedgetoday.com, and there you will find even more stuff. There's hundreds of free themed coaching sessions designed with the intention of assisting you in uncovering your joy path so that you can live your life in joy and as intended. I also offer one-on-one coaching, and it's the 21st century, so it doesn't matter where you live. Both Janet and I are available to work with you and talk with you and help you grow. So let's just connect together. Also, if you'd like to contact me via email, my email is joankappas@gmail.com. That's Joan Kappas, Kappes, @gmail.com. So time to go, Janet, but thank you. Appreciate your coming, and we will chat again, I'm sure. Everyone, I'm sure, will enjoy some more conversations with you. Are you willing to do that?
Oh, more than willing. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I'm very, very honored to share. So thank you again, Joan.
You are welcome. Thanks again. And thanks, everyone, for coming to The Edge today. So until next time, remember that the destination is great, but it's the journey that we came for, and it's the joy-filled journey that is life. So let's journey together. Bye-bye for now.